Hey there, Mama. Welcome to the Knitting Mamas podcast. If you're a mom who's tired of feeling exhausted and longing for some well-deserved self-care and rest, you are in the right place. I know that finding time for yourself as a busy mom can feel like an impossible puzzle. But guess what? You don't have to compromise anymore. Hi, I'm your host, Nadine Medina, and just like you, I am a mom, wife, and also a happy knitter. Over my 15 years of motherhood, I have been on a journey to discover how to truly recharge without the guilt and the never-ending quest for perfection. The secret? It's all about progress, not perfection. By focusing on simple routines, natural wellness solutions, and the cozy art of knitting, I found the path to feeling whole and content. And on this podcast, I'm sharing it all with you so you can do the same. Are you ready to find simple solutions to set yourself free from mom guilt, to take more time for yourself to truly rest, and to use your knitting skills for a mindful routine that creates space in your life so you can breathe easier? Let's take a deep breath, grab those knitting needles, and say goodbye to mom stress. Together, we'll create a supportive community that encourages you to prioritize self-care while juggling all your responsibilities. Sound good? Let's do this. Hey mamas, happy Monday and welcome to part 2 of our series of knitting more and scrolling less, some strategies for more balanced screen time and more knitting time for stressed mamas. So we are now in part 2. If you did not catch part 1, go back to the episode right before this, episode 9, and listen to the first little challenge that I gave you in order to get or take more control of your screen time. And today we are going to talk about the first real tip. So last week we talked about how you can identify your triggers and how you can become more aware of how you're actually using your phone, and that you actually need the 5-day phone down challenge and need to set better boundaries around your phone time so that you can actually have more time for yourself and you don't have to say anymore that you don't have any time to knit. So that's the whole reason behind this. If you still want to jump into the phone down needles up challenge, it started today. It's super fun. You can still sign up for it and join us in our little knitting project. We're knitting a cowl, and I would be very happy to welcome you in the challenge even today, even though it already started. We're going for it all week. So go to bit.ly/phone down to sign up today. Okay, so let's get into today's tip, following the one or the thing we talked about last week in the last episode. Again, go back if you didn't catch that one. But based on what you found out and based on how aware you are now about your phone screen time and how you're using your phone, and maybe, figuring out some triggers and when you grab the phone most and how often you actually pick it up, and you may have blown your own mind with that number. I know I did, for sure. Let's get to a really great way to kind of limit those times and force yourself, because, sometimes, like we talked about in the last episode, this is out of our control. This is really a sort of an addiction problem. It has to do with dopamine. And we have to just sometimes put some forceful reminders on here so that we can take control of this issue. So I suggest to use screen time on your phone to limit app usage, and definitely or specifically for apps that you know are going to be very tempting. Another option is to, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Another great option is to just simply delete the apps that are sucking your time and the joy out of your life. So if you are somebody who, for example, falls into the comparison trap on social media often, and, some accounts just make you feel less than, not good enough, or like a failure, or like you're not doing well in motherhood, like all that garbage that we make out of what we see on social media sometimes. If that's you, number one, you can unfollow a bunch of people that, whose accounts are not making you feel great, because really all it should do is inspire you, make you feel happy, make you laugh, If none of that is happening because you're like, oh gosh, I'm not doing as well as this person, just unfollow. That's my first strategy. If that's not enough and you still feel that way, but you still can't peel yourself off and just say, you know what, I'm not even going to look at that anymore, ditch the app. Just ditch the app entirely. You can just push down on it. The little X will appear and you click the X and it's gone. Now, there is another way to limit your time on certain apps on your phone. And again, this is me on my iPhone, so I don't know what this looks like on any other phone, but you go again into your settings, scroll down to screen time, and you will here see all your stats and your times that you spent on the apps. So the first thing that you can set is called downtime, which I find extremely helpful. You can customize it. I think there may be like a preset in there for a certain amount of time for downtime that's overnight. And then you can, of course, also make sure that certain phone calls and messages still come through so that you're not missing anything super important. But I personally like to customize mine and make it longer than the preset was. So it's a great way to schedule downtime and have your phone just quiet at a certain time of the evening until a certain time of the morning. And I find that extremely helpful because when you look at your phone and it's all blacked out, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just going to put it back down. But when that's not the case, it's so easy to just open it and go into some random app and wonder, how in the world did I find myself here? Now, the next thing is right underneath the downtime would be app limits. So you can actually put a time limit on any app that you choose. So for me, it is number 1, Instagram. Number 2, Facebook. And then the third one is actually Facebook Messenger, which used to blow up for me. Like there was a lot of messages that I had going on. It's not like that anymore. So it's really not that big of a deal. But the other 2, I definitely want to make sure that I have a limit on there. And once that limit comes up, obviously I can also turn it off. But it still is a great reminder in the moment, right? I'm like in there and I'm scrolling and I'm finding myself mindlessly scrolling, or maybe I'm not even realizing what I'm doing. And then before I know it, it pops up and it's like, hey, you've been on Instagram for 30 minutes today. And I'm like, oh, darn, really? It might be time to stop. So it serves as a great reminder to call it and put the phone down and be done with it for that moment. If you're noticing that a certain time that you put on that app for screen time is just not going to work for you, if it's too much still, you can always go back and adjust that. But I think it is so helpful that we can utilize these built-in tools now that thankfully these phone providers came up with to truly help us realize how much time on the phones we are actually spending and have these reminders right up front while we're in the app, realizing, oh, okay, I've gotten to my limit. This is it for today. And now we're putting this phone away. So that's, if you have never used these time limits and screen times on your phone, I think this is going to be such a big change for you. And I'm so excited for you to be able to set that up. So I would love to hear from you. If you want to still jump in the challenge, I will see you later on in our group. That would be lovely. If you decide not to join the challenge, no big deal. If you're listening to this episode and you're feeling like someone else needs to hear this as well, I would love for you just to pop it into a story on either Facebook or Instagram during your designated screen time, of course, and tag me at the Knitting Mamas so that I can shout you out and I can reply to you and cheer you on in your journey of finding more time for yourself and to dedicate to your knitting projects. Super, super excited for you. Be sure to check in tomorrow for my last tip, which I personally think will have the most impact on the way you use your phone, and it may surprise you. If you've been around for a little while here, you may have heard it in the past because I talk about it a lot, but it's definitely one of my absolute favorite tips that I like to give to moms. I've been using it for years and years, and I don't even know what I'd do without it. So get ready. I'm so excited to share that with you tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. Hey mama, I hope you've soaked up some great ideas from today's episode. Remember, a happy mom makes for a happy fam. If today's chat hit home with you, it would mean the world if you could leave a 5-star written review on iTunes. Your review will help other moms discover our community and embrace guilt-free self-care. Also, if you're scrolling through Instagram, why not snap a screenshot of this episode for your stories? Don't forget to tag me at The Knitting Mamas so that I can shout you out on my page as well. Plus, that way we can stay connected and spread the self-care magic. Oh, and have you heard about our cozy Facebook community? It's a guilt-free zone where we share relaxing routines, essential oils, and knitting adventures, and so much more. Come join us today at bit.ly/knittingmamas and let's unwind together. Until we chat again, take care, mama. And remember, looking after yourself is not selfish. It's essential for that balanced life. Catch you soon right here on the Knitting Mamas podcast.